Hey, today's shave is going to be with the machined version of the Blackland dart. The brush we're going to use is this Silvertip. It's a premium grade from the Golden Nib. I do enjoy this one a lot. Poofy cloud of softness without too much backbone is how I characterize this guy. Very soft. Lather bowl, and I transferred my Williams fragments into this container that I got from Maggard's, and I've kept them hydrated a little bit because, as you can see, I mean, there's probably like a week of soap in there, but unfortunately, even if I let it dry out hoping it would congeal, I pressed it while it was still a little bit wet, and then I let it dry out hoping that it would stay in one piece, but no, it got really dry and then it just broke apart. But I'm hoping that keeping them kind of wet, and then I'm going to get that brush in there. Hopefully it's going to agitate that soap enough to get a good lather on there. So I'm marathoning my Nacet blade, 50 dots on the front side, 31 dots on the back side. So today is going to be the 82nd use of my Nacet. Here's how he looks. In the past 2 days, I have used my Blackland dart that was the polished version. Easy to tell, this is not a mirror finish. This is the machined version. It's $40 cheaper. You can actually polish this yourself if you later on want to have the polished version. But I'm returning to this one, and I'm going to put that, there's my little X right there, put that on the bottom side, because I'm shaving on that's always been my orientation, because, I mean, the edge is the edge. It doesn't really matter how you flip it, but I'm just really curious, when this thing decides to stop being effective, I wonder if I flip it over, if I see any change at all. A little bit of a science experiment at the end of life there. The polished version was just aggressive, more harsh than this version by like one level, maybe 1.5 levels. And so I'm returning back to this one. This has been one of the best razors for me as this Nacet blade has gotten older. My smooth and mild razors dropped away fairly quickly, like younger than 30 uses for this blade. They dropped away, and I had to use my more aggressive razors. And now that I'm up in the 70s and 80s, some of those dropped away. This guy is probably the king. He's given me the best shaves so far. All right, let me rinse my face. All right. So, normally, if you have fragments of Williams, if that's the soap you like, because after all, it is inexpensive. For me, it looks like it's going to last 2 months. That's pretty good. You would then take the fragments here, put them on top of a new puck that you pull out, and then they would kind of cement themselves into that. You just keep on rolling, and you would not be dealing with these fragmentation problems that I am. So now we've had this brush soaking for a few minutes. That's just my preference. You can run it under water and get it really good, nice and wet, and just let it sit for a little bit while you prep, but my preference is the soak. So I shook out pretty much all the water. Oh, you know what? With Williams, my technique's a little different. With Williams, I actually like to have the brush have some water in it. So let me go back to the Williams is just a strange little soap. And so I'm going to tilt it about 45-degree angle. That helps a little bit of the extra water to kind of come out. And then, let's see, how are we doing? Yep. And then we're going to go into this, and let's do a 1 minute and just see what happens. Okay, 4:40 is the time where it started, and you can see the fragments are kind of moving around in there. Hopefully there's enough agitation to actually load enough soap on the brush. Maybe just time to throw it away. Yeah, this is, I don't know that that's what I kept it moist so that it would then release its lather a little bit easier, because I knew it would be, oh, now actually, you know, this might, look at that. This might actually work. I may have to pick the chunks out of the brush. Okay, we're about to hit 1 minute. You know what? Let's do 40 would be a minute. Let's go until 05, which would be let's see, 40. Let's go until 10, so that'll be a minute and a half of loading, just to make sure we get enough soap here. Yeah, 10 more seconds. Yeah, it's actually, look at that. Who'd have thunk it? All right, there we go. All right, now I am going to take a second and try to find any hard chunks that might be in the brush. Don't really feel any. Great. All right. I'm really curious how this is going to work. Okay. So this is the 55th use of this Williams puck. And so I feel confident that it's got 60 shaves in it. As usual, we have our airy light lather that has tons of bubbles. We have that pop up quickly. And some other soaps do that too. Normal, just keep mixing past that point. If the Williams was a little bit softer, I could press a few of those nuggets into the bottom of my lather bowl. But unfortunately, when it's softer, it's moist and it doesn't quite want to stick. Looks like I'm going to be in good shape here. Do we have a brush hair? Jumped ship. This brush is pretty young. It's only been used 18 times, so that's not a problem if it's losing a hair every once in a while. Now I believe I'm going to hope that if I have enough soap in here, I'm going to add some water and it's going to start to get all creamy and good. If I do not have enough soap in here, it's going to thin it out and it's not going to be a good time. So that's what this will be fun to see. A lot of other soaps will start out thick, and as you add water, they'll thin out. And so then it's easy, but it's kind of a linear progression. And so oh, it looks like I made a good decision. This looks pretty good. So as it gets thinner and more hydrated, it stops when it's really peaky, and those peaks like that, see, that's got a little bit of flexibility to it. That's a good sign. But when those are rigid and when they're kind of short, and when there are other peaks and it looks more like a moonscape, very jaggedy, then that's usually a sign. With most soaps, that's usually a sign that the soap still needs some water. At least if you like your soaps on the slickness order that I that I do. I mean, you can have them however you want. Let's add a little bit more water, and that may be it. Sometimes when I have made the mistake of not having enough soap in my brush, it'll kind of look similar to this a little bit. And it's amazing what happens is I will start to lather up and it'll just disappear. But it's not too much of a big deal. Just go back to the pot, get a little bit more soap, carry on. You don't have to have a bowl that's like mine, that has the ridges in the bottom, and kind of fancy and all that stuff. Cereal bowl do just fine. There are several bowls I got at the Dollar Tree that do great. Okay, this is encouraging. I believe we're ready to go. Let's do a little finger test. Very little cushion. Easily feel the ridges in my fingerprints. I don't know, we'll just see, huh? We will see. All right, I'm gonna give my face one more splash of water. After Hurricane Florence and Hurricane Michael came through our area, kind of brought a cold, this is not encouraging, kind of brought a cold front. And so we switched from pretty warm temperatures to cool pretty quickly. Yeah, it looks like I was not able to get quite enough soap in the brush. However, I have used Williams enough to know that this is going to be fine. It's still a very slick soap. It may not have the cushion to feel like a creamy lather, but it'll give me slickness and protection that will not be a problem. Enough scrubbing. We have cleaned. There we go. So the Nacet is loaded in. Polished version is a little harder to hold on to. I mean, it's fine, but man, this guy's got a great grip because I guess of the micro grooving produced by the milling process. It's a machine finish, so it hasn't been polished away. And so even though it looks kind of smooth, like if you take your fingernail and kind of move it up and down, you can feel the tiny little vibrations from the ridges. What that translates to is a very comfortable grip that's very safe and grippy and tons of friction. So let's see now if I get from this Blackland dart the same irritation that I get from its polished version. Because, you know, I was thinking maybe it's the polished version. Maybe it's the blade. Maybe the blade has hit some kind of hill. I don't think so. Because 3 shaves ago, I used this very razor because I knew I was going to be getting the dart in. And I can tell you right now, this is just fine. Not really getting any irritation. And this is with a thin soap. I was getting more irritation with the L&L grooming soap that was Champs de Lavande yesterday, and it had a creamy lather, so nice. And I'm getting less irritation from this thin Williams soap than that Artisan Excellent L&L grooming. And that's because the geometry is different. This is my guess. I'm pretty sure I'm right, because it's the only thing that has really changed. The geometry in the head is different as they polished it. Maybe what I'm guessing is this top cap, maybe that was reduced just a little bit, which opens up the blade just a hair, and in that small amount can make a big difference in terms of harshness, because this guy is right on the verge of being too harsh for me anyway. This was comfortable, no harshness at all. And then the second and third pass will be even better, because I'll bring the handle angle in a little bit more, and it'll take the aggression from like a 7 out of 10 to more like a 5. That's why I love this dart. But that did not work with the polished version. All right, I'm going to rinse. As usual, I am using cold water. It's the winter, basically, that cold front I told you about, and so it is actually cold water. In the summer, it's really more lukewarm. And it is not soft water, pretty hard. Williams does not have a problem with hard water. Soft, wonderful brush, and this is the golden nib, and so you can get this brush knot from their website, I think for just 25 bucks, and you'll get, I mean, it just feels like a cloud. And so that's inexpensive, and this handle was just $15. And it's kind of cool that you can, if you're low on cash and you can't pay it all up front, all you have to do is buy the knot. First, make sure it's the size of the handle that you're going to purchase later. This one's probably a 22 millimeter knot inside of a 24 millimeter handle, because I didn't want quite as much splay. Since I have a goatee, I have this tract of land here that does not need a big brush. It's kind of wasted on me. And so just buy the brush first, and then you wait and save up your money, buy the handle. Then save your money, go out and buy, if you don't have any already, just some basic silicone, typical, standard, ordinary silicone, and use that to affix the brush knot into the handle. And usually I put rubber bands around the brush bristles so that they stay, instead of splayed out, they stay pretty close up, so that they're not trying to force their way out of the handle. And wait. I like to wait 2 or 3 days for that to cement and set, and then you're good. All right. Look at that. Shaving just fine. I bring the handle angle just in just a little bit, and it just reduces the aggression level. I think it just takes a little pressure off of the blade by putting a little bit more pressure on the safety bar. That trick did not work with the other dart. It made this very same razor blade yesterday, so not much has changed. It made it feel scrapey and thin. Not pleasant. So when I got the polished dart, my initial thought was, holy cow, this thing's gorgeous. And that is true. However, it's like getting a wife who's gorgeous if she can't cook. If you can't cook and then she can't cook either, it's not going to be any fun. All right, where she's gorgeous and high maintenance, doesn't treat you right, pick the plain woman who cooks great, treats you well, and loves you, right? All right, I'm going to pause you and rinse. Many times when I mix up my lather, I can leave it a little thicker than usual because I can experience a creamy, luxurious feel to the lather. And then if it's a little thinner than that, then I'm fine. But if it's a little too thick, then I just leave some water on my face after I rinse, and that dilutes the lather just a little bit, usually making it about perfect. Well, since this lather is too watery, I just dab towel on my skin to absorb that excess water. So hopefully this lather will be nicer. And this is the third pass. So even though it's not creamy at all, kind of thin, it is still gonna, like I said, work really well, and I'm actually gonna have enough to do the job. Yeah. And this is enough for my touch-up pass. Actually, what's in the brush is probably enough for that, so I am going to have just a little bit extra. And then you can kind of roll it on the side there to get a little bit of the lather that's still kind of on the brush. All right. Very comfortable. I was not looking forward to the passes with the polished version because I was just so afraid. Oh, hey, there's a little bit of lather. I was just so afraid that the risk was not necessarily that I was going to cut myself, but that I was going to stir up some razor burn with the harshness of that. So we can now say, as I kind of finish up my third pass, this is comfortable. So we can say that it was the dart, the polished dart, that was giving me problems, and not the aging blade, and not that lather, because that was a better lather than this one by some standards. And I'm just not having a problem at all. I got no irritation. And my shave result wasn't all that good yesterday. Sometimes if it's harsh, then that's fine, because it's harsh because it's being aggressive. So you still get a great cut. You may not have a great feel afterwards, but you get a great cut. Well, not only did I not have a great feel during the shave yesterday, but I did not get a great cut. It wasn't even a good cut. There were lots of hairs left in my little trouble area right here. Cheeks were fine. In this trouble area, there were lots of hairs that still had length on them. I can see the tips and see some length. All right, I'm going to pause you while I rinse. If you do happen to be shaving with a razor that's treating you a little harshly for whatever reason, if you normally use hot water or warm water to shave, try in between passes splashing your face and doing the rinse with cool water or cold water. Very refreshing, very cooling. It made my skin feel much better when it was being treated harshly by yesterday's razor. All right, now I'm going to pick up the rest of this lather, and that should be plenty to do my neck only pass. This is typical. When I'm using young blades. Plenty, as it turns out, of lather to get the job done, because I've got a friend here sitting on my shoulder of excess. Watching a little bit of the other day's game of World Series on the TV. Red Sox are doing well. We'll see how the third game is going on tonight. See how they do. I'm going to treat skin very carefully right now. Watch my pressure. Just try to keep the razor, the blade edge touching the skin. Not really trying to bear down at all. Light touch. Think, finesse. Have an attitude of, well, if I don't get it this time, I'll get it the next pass. In many cases with me, this may be different from what your experience, but an extra light pass is better than putting too much pressure on and doing fewer passes. There we go. I'm going to pause you and do an inspection. So that's a much better shave than yesterday. That went very well. I do see 8 hairs where I can see the tip and see a little bit of length on them. The rest of them have been cut flush. Yesterday's shave, I think I even did one more touch-up pass. No, I didn't, because it was irritating me so much I didn't want to do an extra touch-up pass. So I did the 3.5 just like today. And I had more like 50 hairs that, I could see a little bit of length on. So this was a better shave, closer shave. I think this is still a fine shave for just about any office environment. So I am happy with the machined dart. All right. How much Williams is going to be left? I wonder. Oh yeah, there's a big chunk. There's some more chunks. I wonder. I lathered for 1.5 minutes. I may just have to call it on the Williams. So 55 shaves. It could probably do more if I wanted to. Keep mixing, maybe mix for 2, load for 2 minutes next time, and then potentially get it. But I think I'm going to call it at 55 uses. How about that? You can sometimes get it for $1.25, something like that. Sometimes just for $1. There's one grocery store and they had it for $1, and so 2 months worth of shaves for $1. How about that? And for most of its life, I was able to get nice, creamy, luxurious lather. All right, just for grins, Summer Break Soaps is kind of a new company, either this year or last year, and History 101 is a great scent, to me at least. Gunpowder and things like that. So it does have alcohol, but it also has good things like aloe vera. Some light to a little bit more than light stinging, kind of as a general rule, and that's very interesting and maybe this just has a higher concentration of alcohol than some of the other things I've had, but most of the time I get barely any sting at all. And now the sting's gone. That's a great scent. Kind of leather, gunpowder, some woodiness in there, I think. That's a very manly scent. It's got witch hazel. That's what I meant to remember. And then the aloe vera liquid. And then a little bit of glycerin to help with absorption of water. So it's basic, but I love the scent, and it's not got too much complexity in it to complicate things. Department of Redundancy department there, right? All right, excellent. I'm going to start cleaning up. Oh, maybe some tobacco or something like that, smoke in this fragrance as well. Kind of a man cave scent. I really like it. So I did measurements, kind of meaningless since we don't really know how much I used in terms of because I started with a very wet brush, tilted it 45 degrees, kind of shook it a few times, and then I also used 2 teaspoons of water. Turns out probably a little bit more than I needed to, but in the end it worked out. I had plenty of water, plenty of lather to do what I needed. How much lather is left? We have still some on the brush, and then just a little bit in the bowl. It's kind of not too thick, and so that's plenty for another touch up if I wanted to do that. So I sling my brush out into the sink there, get the excess water out. My technique, and then I strop it for a little bit on a dry towel. You don't want the core of your brush here to retain water, and so I try to get as much out of the excess so that the water can come out and evaporate. You don't want mildew or anything like that to develop in the center of the brush. So this guy ready to go for the next time. And so 55 uses for the Williams. I am confident that I could get another 3 uses out of it. So that'd be 58. So that's pretty good. It's pretty good for a puck of old soap. The older version of Williams, I don't know what year they changed, but they reduced the amount of tallow that they had in their soap. And so the vintage ones actually produce a great lather. It is better, and it's noticeably better. This one is still good, but the vintage one's even better. It's crazy good, right? Man, the more I have this stuff on me, as I'm cleaning up, the more I'm enjoying it. Holy cow. Man, that's nice. So here's what the Williams looks like afterwards. The chunks are buried beneath the lather in there. Something in me just says, hey, let's just wait. Let's let it dry out for a couple of days or one day or something. And if I feel like going for use number 56, I will. So this may be the end of the Williams. It may not. I'll certainly look forward to. I've been using Williams more because I wanted to use it up and kill it. But I'm really looking forward to trying out some of the soaps that I've got in my drawers that haven't even been tried yet. So looking forward to that. So here is the box that Williams comes in, and you might see it. I've had better luck finding it at grocery stores actually than I have at drugstores or Walmart. They used to have it at Walmart, but every once in a while you'll find it. That's what it looks like. Oh, and if you want to try it out and you want to buy it online, you can get it on eBay or Amazon, but don't pay more than like $2 a puck for it. It's crazy how much they're wanting to charge. Maybe people think that, oh, he'll get caught up in the vintage and nostalgia and he'll think it's worth more than it actually is, and you'll end up paying $6 a puck when you really need to be paying about $1.50 or $1.80. I am still really enjoying that summer break History 101. Holy cow. What a great, it's bringing up stories, it's bringing up feelings. It's taking me back to my visit to the Biltmore house. There's a room there that was kind of the man room. It had leather seats and billiards tables and animal heads mounted up on the wall, and it was a smoking lounge too. I don't smoke, but just that scent is nice. And it's taken me back to those kinds of places. What a wonderful scent. Really enjoying that. So this may be my farewell to the puck of Williams that I worked through. I started in August. I used it all of August, and then I've used it on and off since. And now it's done, and I can move on to other stuff. I learned a good bit from it, and it's helped me with some of the other hard soaps that I have, especially. Some of those are a little harder to lather than the Cropes and the artisan soaps that just lather so easily and quickly. And the brush did great as usual. I think it is firming up to be one of my favorite Silvertips in the budget category. So really liking that. It was like coming back home for the machine dart. Used it so many times in August, and it redeemed it. It reminded me how good it was, how smooth, irritation free I am, and there we go. So I hope this helped you in some way, and this is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Take care. Good night.